Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another segment of Soul Talk. So, today we're going to talk about complaining. That is the topic of this conversation. It's going to be about complaining. So, talking about complaining, everybody knows what complaining means. Complaining is not something that is new, that we don't know the definition for it. So, but in this context, I'm going to focus on complaining in the sense of like when we're talking about Nigerian youths. Like, because if you look at the Nigerian youths today, they complain a lot. Like, even not even only the youths, even the adults, they complain a lot about Nigeria. And their complaints range from the inability to find work to express of foodstuffs in the market, the high cost of housing, the poor transportation system, poor healthcare system, poor educational system. Just we have everything, and I'm talking about me included. We have everything to complain about in this country. So we feel that every aspect of this country something needs to be done. And so that's what when you pay attention to the Nigerian youth or when they are having a conversation with their friends, it always comes up because it feels like there's so much he wants to do, but these barriers that is in the country kind of make it difficult for him or her to advance to whatever he wants to do. So for a while I have spent time just listening to you. I've talked to a lot of youth and I've spent time with them, and I noticed that these complaints always come up. All you have to do is ask them for what they want to be, and then after a while you start hearing them complain about this, about that, about the bills they are paying here, about the bills they are paying there. And so initially, when you look at the conversation you have with youths, when I had conversation with some of my friends, I noticed that complaint, and then after a while, something that became very clear to me over a long period of time. And the thing was this: when the youths are complaining, they complain about the things that are standing in their way for them to advance. They complain about that. Let's say, for example, now I want a job that will enable me to be able to pay my fees. I can say, oh, the job I have, they're not. I can say, for example, the job I have, they're not paying me a lot of money, so this is a problem for me, and because of that, I can't meet up with my demands, like marrying a woman, getting a house, having my own kids. So because of that, I am stuck. Like I can. So that's an example of something I want. So so this always happens. So by their complaint, you can really tell where they are going with their life, what they want to do with their life. So you can really tell. Let's say, for example, now I'm looking for housing, and I can't afford a house. I can be like, oh man, and this housing issue is just a bad issue. How can I have so much money like this and I can't even afford a house and stuff? But the real issue I've come to realize is that even if when they complain, it's easy for them to complain. But when it comes to doing the work, some of us lack. Some of us, we don't want to get our hands dirty and do the work to change society. But that's not even the conversation I want to get into today. The conversation I want to get into today is the youths, even though that they complain about life and complain about how hard they have it, I've come to realize that what they really want is for them to get their way, is for things to change so they get what they want. They are not complaining so that the society can be better, so we all get what we want. It's a kind of a selfish mentality. It's more like I can't get a job that pays me 20 million. So I complain about it, but once I get that job, I don't complain about job anymore because I have a 20 million naira job. Then the next thing I complain about is the next hurdle I want to accomplish. There's the next obstacle in my way. It could be buying a house, it could be even finding a wife. So I can say, oh, Nigerian women are this way, this way, this way. That some of them are this, that. Then once I find a good woman that I love, then all of a sudden it becomes, okay, the next thing now is school fees. That's what I'm going to complain about. The school fees. School fees are high because you get a wife, you give birth to kids, and blah, blah, blah. So they complain about the next thing that they want. And so that is what I've come to realize from the theme of our conversation. And what I think some of them fail to realize is that attitude is selfish in itself. You know, the thought of me just complaining that I can't get what I want. That is selfish. That's selfish in its way. You see, as a country, we have to understand that we are all in this together. I don't care how rich you are in this country. I don't care. There is something about this country. There is a way this country is structured that everybody gets in a mess. No matter how much money you can have all the money, but there can be something that you want really bad, but you can't have it because the country in itself is defective. The policies in it, the way the system is run in with a default, is run with so much baggage that makes it difficult for everybody to get the things that they desire. It makes it difficult for the major people to have the basic necessities of life. And so when we the youths complain about, oh, what we don't have, or I don't have this, I don't have that, it's selfish. What we rather need to do is, we have to, our complaints and our actions must be geared towards ensuring that everybody is included in the things that we want. So it's not a case of, oh, I just want a good job, and when I get the job, I'm like, the job is over, I don't care about job issue. It has to be we all have to join hand as a people and aspire that the basic necessities of life are afforded to everybody in the country. You see, that attitude towards things is something that some of our people will say. They'll say, what do I care? I have my own job, waiting concern me. This is not my own business. So I get my own job. Then I go and find it. It's like we want to get our own, and then you go and find your own. That's your own business. But we have to understand that in this country is in the state of, is this way simply because of selfish interest. That's what this country is in the state we are today, because of selfish interest. This comes from the fact that a handful of people want to control people, want to own the public funds, want to own everything that the government owns, wants to benefit from it selfishly, and then they neglect other people. They want to make money out of this, make money out of that, and then they keep it to themselves, and we keep it to ourselves, and we enjoy. The country is in a state where we are today because of selfishness. That's how it is. About me going for my share of the national cake, and I don't care if you get yours, that's your own business. I go cut my own, and that person cut their own, and that person. So at the end of the day, somebody is going to come late to the party. Somebody is going to come and they say, well, the cake has finished. Or somebody is going to come later and then there are crumbs left for the person. Or you're going to come and there is no even cake. And then you're like, I'm hungry. They say, the cake has finished. So we as a people, we have to develop this attitude of, we are all in this together. We should not aspire, because there is something wrong in a society where one man is eating abundantly and the man outside his gate is starving to death. There is something wrong with that society, and that's what we're getting into today. You see, the generation before us, they made a huge mistake that we as a people, even our generation, is on the verge of making again. You see, the generation before us, they saw the things that were going wrong in the country. They could have fixed it. The people could have stood up and said, no, we're going to fix this and make sure that this generation benefits. But they didn't do that. Most of them, some of them, they made two choices. Some of them tried to fight and failed, and that was it for them. Then the rest decided that, see what I'm going to do, I'm going to focus on making money. If I make my money, the world is going to be good for me. And some of them did make money, and they enjoyed their money, and they traveled overseas and traveled and ate their money and had a good time. But something you have to understand is, no matter how much money you make in this country, the problems of the country only keep increasing, and it comes back to bite you. Money is not the salvation. A brand new car, a brand new house in this place or that place, it does not erase the problem the country is facing. Yes, you may have lived a good life, but as long as the country has problems, it will come and bite you even in your parlor. The issues of the country will come and bite you, no matter how high your throne of opulence is. It will come and bite you there. You may have it all and have a mansion, but as long as the person that is guarding your gate is hungry, the problem of the country is going to come to you. That person may either steal your property or may do something that make you realize that, see, this person is suffering and I'm not. So as a people, we have to come to that realization that This quest for salvation is a collective effort. It's not something about me being selfish and wanting to collect my own and say to help the other person. That is very, very, very important. You see, as a people, we will only get to the promised land together. We're not going to get there one person at a time. No. Because at the end of the day, money is not salvation. It does not solve the problem. You see, this salvation business is not a one-man show. What kind of person would you think, what kind of person would you see yourself as if you are driving a Benz in this Nigeria that costs 20 million and the man on your street and the man that you are running past is lying there and he has not eaten? What kind of person how would you describe yourself in that kind of situation? You see, money does not solve the problem. We have always thought that. Everybody always thinks, oh, when I have money, as long as I have money, things will be better. It don't get better with money. You will only have money only to realize that there are some certain problems that come with money because you live in a defective society. Because when you have money, I have money, and the other man does not have money, then I have to be worried that one day this guy is going to come after me and take my own thing. And if you look at rich people, they always have that fear in this country. All you have to do is watch them closely. They are worried that, oh, the accountant is going to cook the books. They are worried the accountant is going to do something. They are worried about, oh, the gate man is going to steal their money. They are worried because they live in this, because they thought money was going to be the salvation, but money is not. You see, we as a people have to stop dividing each other on our tribe and religion and other stupid things that we divide each other on. We have to stop doing that. We have to come and see each other as one people who want the same things. It does not matter whether you are Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, whatever you are. Every person in this country wants the basic necessities of life. A Yoruba man wants food, just like an Igbo man wants food. And now someone wants food just like a Edo man wants food. We all want the same things, but this idea of dividing us and we are saying, oh, these people are against us and is a lie. That division comes in a society where the society realizes, or the society is not willing to provide for every member of its people. When that society is not ready to provide for everybody the basic necessities of life, all these things come about. This tribalism comes about. This religious intolerance comes about. These other things that come about. So, and in doing all these things, a particular people are relegated to the sidelines, and we say, nope, you people, you don't deserve the basic necessities of life, or we may even say you are not worthy of the basic necessities of life, and we here, we are the ones that deserve it. And then it goes, but deep down, that person you are relegating to the sideline, he breathes the same air you breathe, the same blood you have runs through his veins. And is it not even stupid for you to now say, because of a social construct such as tribe or culture or religion or whatever, you now relegate another human being to the sidelines? Or you say, oh, because he does not have money, you push him to the side. The issue I'm trying to get at is this, because I feel like I'm touching on several issues, is that money is not our salvation. We as a people must come together and demand from our leaders the basic necessities of life. That is the real truth. This is something we have to do. We going to the church and singing and fainting and waking up and shouting, it does not solve the problem of the country. Because I've come to realize everything in this country we want to pray. There's no how will I make my salary? Don't pay me salary today, let me kneel down and pray to God. Everything we want to pray. Even when it comes to even our presidential candidates, we still go to prayer and expect God to bring somebody that no. We as a people have to come together. We have to get rid of our pride, all these things that make it difficult for us to feel one another. We have to get together, and then in that togetherness, we can demand for things that we really desire. You see, when we as a people come together asking for what we desire, it's difficult for us to be exploited. But as long as we, the youths, have this mentality of, oh, I'm out for myself, I'm going to get this thing for myself, I want to make money so I can throw money around so they can know how to arrive. As long as we are still stuck in this mentality, our country will keep going down the drain. People are going to be suffering, lives are going to be wasted, skills are going to be wasted, and every other thing, and the poverty is going to just keep increasing. My advice to the youths today is this: don't just go for yourself. Don't do that. Don't say, oh, me, I'm going for myself, I want to get this for myself. Our thought should be a collective effort. This thing I'm doing, how does that benefit other people too? If I'm going to political office, I shouldn't say, oh, what I want to do is make money, or man, grab money and all that stuff. My goal should think is, how can I make life better for other people that are going to come after me? You see, we have to think along those lines, because if we continue thinking about this selfishness, our country gets nowhere. And at the end of the day, this whole country falls on our lap. And we are the ones that are going to pay the price, and our children will pay the price too. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that we shouldn't complain. Yes, we can complain. Nothing is wrong with complaining. But what I'm trying to say is that we also have to understand that we should not just be thinking of ourselves. When we get the opportunity, or when we finally put in the work to make things better, we shouldn't just worry about making it better for me, my wife, and my kids. No, we should worry about making it better for everyone, making the country a little bit better than we saw it. So that's what I want to talk about today. So I hope you enjoyed this talk. So like I said, you can leave your comments, you can share, write comments, tell me what you think about it, even message me. So the real truth is this: I enjoy doing this, and I hope this message touches somebody and let us realize some of the things, some of our pitfalls, and so in essence, we can be better people and we can have a better country. Thank you very much. Bye.